You are looking live at the Just Flight Fokker F28, and it's a new version coming at you soon. Good morning, everybody, from the pre-dawn light here at Chuck Yeager Airport, Charleston, West Virginia. I'm your classic jet sim pilot, and something special today. The folks at Just Flight were nice enough to give me a little preview copy of version 2.2 of the Fokker. It's finally not finally, but it is a Microsoft 2024 native product now, and they've made some nice improvements. We can review some more once we're up in the air, but thought we'd give it a try, give you all a little look at it, and fly this magnificent airplane. It's a terrific airplane. If you have no experience with it or haven't given it a try, maybe you bought it because you saw another streamer or somebody else fly it, and it seems a little intimidating. And yeah, it certainly is a lot more work than modern jets, but it's just a boatload of fun to fly. It really is, and I've had fun with it. I've done a couple of test flights with it just to sort of get used to it because it's been a minute. Some successful, some not so successful. There's some gotchas on this airplane. I'll try to point them out as we go so you get a good idea. But let's start with a little abbreviated walk around and look at what they've done to it. There's some new liveries available that are up to 8K, I believe, with the 2024 version. But it's a good-looking little jet, and for a little jet, it's kind of like a little big jet, right? It's still a 60-plus thousand-pound airplane, and one thing I like about the walk-around mode is you get a sense of the scales, right? So it's not like a typical wide body. You know, you got to duck to get under the wings, but it's still not a small airplane by any stretch of the imagination. Love the straight old wing with those big flap track fairings. Rolls-Royce Spey engines. I think they're Speys. This classic Piedmont livery looks great. My buddy Piedmonter, this is for you, buddy. I thought I'd do an Air 21 flight, but I kind of like this Piedmont livery, and I love this airport. I've owned it for a while, and never had an opportunity to fly out of it. But let me tell you, this is an absolutely beautiful airport. We'll take a look around in a little bit so you can see it. But if you don't have it, it's stunning. It sits up on top of a hill, bluffs all around it. Love that little Fokker decal at the end. Classic T-tail, twin-mounted, half-mounted engines. Just a good-looking airplane. And lots of fun tech inside, too. Interesting how the door handle, it's not even near the door. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Let's hop in, take a look, see what's going. So if you haven't been around this airplane in a while, yeah, it is definitely not a new cockpit, but it's very conventional. It's not quite as haphazardly laid out as even some newer aircrafts, like like some say the MD-80. Although I think that's a terrific cockpit too, but a little more organized. The overhead truly gives you systems diagrams as part of it, right? So, for example, here's the electrical system. This whole left side of the panel. And it's very interesting because you can basically trace it. So here's the battery, right? Because here's the ground symbol. Here's the battery. Battery switch is right here. You've also got an inline indicator, so when the battery's off, see how it cuts across? Gives you a visual. And they have these inline indicators all around for the pneumatic system, for the DI system. And so it's very easy to tell at a glance if something's not connected properly. And it basically takes you through the system. So here's the generators up here. So the engines, right, are over here. So you've got your load indicators, you've got your gen drive, the IDG temps. And then you've got the generators here. So here's the generator switches, they're on, and the lights are on because they are not producing power. Your emergency power switch is guarded. And the generators power their respective buses. So generator 1 powers bus 1, bus 2. Bus 1 primarily feeds an essential bus, but there is a bus tie connect of some sort. So that allows bus 2 then to power the essential bus if need be. And then you've got your transformer rectifier units, TRUs. They are on. And these are the overheat lights for the TRUs. And if they're off, their respective inline switch goes across. So you can see that, well, this TRU cannot now power the DC buses because it's not connected. But the TRUs, right, they convert the AC from the generators, the AC current to DC current. And that feeds right in. They both feed the essential bus. And then they both go to their respective DC buses. Pretty slick, huh? And then the external power, which is on right now, and this cool little mechanical on-off indicator that'll say ready or on once the external power is connected. And you can see by the dotted line, it comes in this way. And can power the essential bus if need be. And then here's the load. Actually, that's the AC load for the for Gen 3. Yeah, see the arrow? This is coming from Gen 3. Anyway, it's just a really cool diagram. Cool way to lay out a panel. And the pneumatic system is very similar, right? The engine's up here, supplying the HP bleed all the way down to the duct temperatures after going through the. These probably have air cycle machines versus older, newer packs, but it could be packs. I could have that wrong. Anyway. It's just a really cool airplane. So yeah, so here we are in the little Fokker, and let's let me pull up my checklist here. And one of the things they did with the upgrade too is they updated the EFB. It's got some additional functionality, as well as you can move it up to the window and do a window mount if you'd like. And get your checklist down here with your also with your thrust indexes, so you can figure out your takeoff power. And then a little guides at the end with the profiles. So if you forget or want to know how to fly, right? So here's the takeoff profile, and these are classic profile docs that aren't always included in the manuals, and that's something I gotta say about Just Flight. They produce the best manuals. They're a lot like actual really real-world manuals, and they're divided up into like the systems, and then the flight, and then they also have tutorial. But all real-world manuals include some profile information about how the airline wants you flying certain phases of the flight, right? So here's takeoff. 80 knots, release the nose wheel steering. At VR, you rotate to 10 degrees. Positive right, positive rate, gear up. Maintain V2 plus 10 or 15 degrees of pitch. At 800 feet, you accelerate. And once flaps are up, climb thrust checklist. Then if you got to turn immediately after departure, you maintain your V2 plus 10 and your takeoff flap. You can go to 30 degrees of bank, and once you've completed your turn, retract the flaps, climb thrust checklist. Pretty cool. Anyway, I'll try to refer to these when I can. I've also got some real-world checklists from the actual flight manual that I like to use, but I will say that Just Flight took their information directly from the real-world books, so there is basically no difference between the real-world manuals and procedures and what Just Flight presents. All right, so makes it very, very easy. As part of the new, there's a new GSX integration. When I loaded in, it asked me if I wanted to load in the OFP, and the OFP calls for 66 passengers. Calls for what was my OFP? Well, let's look at it. Here it is. We should have about 12,600 pounds of fuel. In fact, let's start GSX refueling here. Request refueling. All right. We'll start the refueling process while we get the nav lights on. We're sitting out here on the ramp. Sun's coming up. Got our two nav lights, left side, right side, and our aft nav light. Here comes the fueler. So we should end up with a little over 6,000 pounds aside.
Fuel truck is in position.
Okay, here we go. All right, let's work on the panel as we get ready here. We already have the external power connected. Gens are on. The disconnect lights are on. Emergency power switch is closed. The bus transfer switches are closed, and that's how you need bus 1 or bus 2 to power the essential and or the other buses. We got the TRU overheat transformer rectifier unit lights, and they are TRUs are on, batteries on, external powers on, and we can arm the emergency lights, and the emergency light arm light went out. Gen 3 is off. Gen 3 in up. Overspeed on the APU. We won't hit the start button. Got the starter valve open light. Starter valve is closed. Ignition's in normal. We've got battery voltage here. And right now we've got voltage running through the TRUs and the buses because of the external power. But nothing, the DC voltage. And then AC voltage running through bus 1. We should have it through the buses, but not the main generators. So Gen 1, Gen 3 are off. Bus 1, essential bus. Bus 2, Gen 2 is off, and external power. So we're good to go. Pressurization should be indicating more or less field altitude, which is about 1,000 feet, 947, I believe. Advanced seatbelt sign is off. No smoking sign is on. Up here, the HP valves are open. Got a duct leak light. We got the 2 duct overheat and bay overheat lights. No pressure. Duct leak. We got the pack switches here. Got the temps are in auto and set. Rail on them, which are fine. Here's our cabin temperature. It's not too hot. We are going to 17,000 feet. So, in this plane, let's go to the overhead view. You set the dial here about 1,000 feet over your cruise altitude. So it was up to 18, and then the what was the atmospheric pressure? Let's go to OFP, METAR. Here it's CRW 2973. So 2973 in inches of mercury, or in millibars. Is or 2973. What are you doing? Not 2073. 973 1006. So it's 1005. So basically, so it's sort of interesting. I don't know I don't know how it was in the real airplane, but this even though I have it over in inches of mercury for the units on the aircraft, this is in millibars, so you do have to convert that. And then coming back up here, we have our anti-ice, de-ice systems. This is the airfoil anti-icing panel. Guards are closed on the shut-offs. Overheat. It's off. Right hand is normal. And we've got the windshield de-ice, the engine anti-ice, I mean, and they're in, and they are off. We want windshield heating priority left-hand side, and is off, and those lights are on because it's the pitot and vane lights are on because the switches are off. And then windshield wiper off, voice recorder we can test. There we go. Okay. These are forward. It's your alternate braking levers. You should have 6 lights on, all of the rest off, which we do. We'll leave them on dim. We've got no brake temp. That's good. Nose wheel steering switch is on. Coming across the panel, 2973. Set by 940 feet is good. Our clock is set. Do our fast low test. I got a light, then I wanted to see if somebody can do the comparator test. Leave our annunciators dim for now. We're going up 17,000 feet, so we'll go ahead and set that. Looks like fueling's done. Oop. And then coming across the bottom part of the panel, Jip whiz is normal. The red floodlights off. Instrument lights we've got turned up a little bit. The guards open on the directional gyro slave switch. Electric pumps are guarded. Skid control is off. We are chocked, so let's release the brakes so we can do a skid anti-skid test. Here's the outer, and we should see the hydraulic pressure bump down a little bit in the accumulator here. When we do that, we'll go back and set the brakes. Test the amber. Test the red. Marker beacon lights. Excellent. Coming across the top, nothing unusual here. Gears down. I'll let the FO handle his lights, although we will check the door lights, make sure they're working. Overheat, low tank pressure. Lights are all on. The pump lights are on for the hydraulic system. That's fine. We'll do the APU test. We'll reset it. We'll do the engine test. Get the light. TBI test. The vibration meter should go to about 4. Do our fuel pump test one at a time. Make sure they're both working. Lights go out. Collector tank light is out. Oh, the cross-feed valve is closed. We got the nav lights on. We'll go ahead and set up our radio panel the way we want it. We'll just have VHF 1 and 2 on, although we won't be using the radios today. Here's your ADF. Here's your HF radio. And we'll come down the center console. Comm radios are set, they're on. Squelch is all the way up, although in real life, right, you dial this down until the squelch kicks in. So you can hear the radio static. All the hydraulic switches are up, lights are on, and the marker beacon. Radio masters are on, transponder, put in standby, system A. Since I am flying, and I think we're good. Let's go ahead and start the boarding process. So we can board using GSX. Request boarding. The doors open up. Baggage carts show up. should see some passengers here pretty soon. Look at that sky.
Passengers bus is coming.
Passengers bus is coming. Alright, we did the APU fire test. Let's fire up the APU. So we're sitting here. Main switch comes on. Gen comes on. We'll turn one. We'll get ready. Turn one pack on. APU doesn't power enough to produce enough air to run both packs. So we'll run the half pack. And we hit the start button. Battery switch is on. APU test has been done. Did I not hold the reset one off? You gotta be in the off switch. Oh, there we go. Now we got to start. About 50%. The last 45% start light comes off. Alright, good speed, good temp. Nothing weird happened now. We can turn on the generator. It's taking the load. We can also turn on the air. See how everything comes alive, we should say right there. There it is. PSI, the pressure comes up to 45. Excellent. So the cabin's getting air. We can turn the external power off. Now notice how it says ready. And we can ask GSX to remove the GPU. Come back. Hello, folks. Oh, there. Okay. Got our funky boardy music going. Alright, pre-flight check in the cockpit. Electrical panel has been checked. Emergency light switch has been armed. Constant speed disconnect switches are closed. Engines are checked. Bleed air supply is checked. Air conditioning is checked. Airflow anti-icing panel is checked. Engine anti-icing check. Pitot and vane heating check. Windshield heating check. It's below. It is below 20 degrees. So we can start warming up the windshield. Pressurization is checked and set. Massive seatbelt switch is off for now. Best focus sign is on. CBR is being tested. Alright, now let's talk about our route. So our route today is, we are, as you may have noticed, we don't have any sort of GPS, INS, flying this way. The natural way. Let me bring up. Actually, I can bring it up. Let's bring it up here. Since we're in 2024. Bring up this brief dispatch and navgraph charts, and I'll show you the route, and then we'll set up the radios accordingly. So we're flying today. I don't know if I went through the route. We're flying today from here. We are in Charleston, West Virginia. We're flying to Charlotte. The actual route this airplane flew. And we're flying to the Charleston VOR. Then, because once we're flying at 17,000 feet, we're going to be in the Victor Airway system, the low altitude airway system. We can change this to IFR low. And we're flying to the Charleston VOR, Victor 133, to Barrett's Mountain. And then what we're going to do, we could get on, so the Betsy arrival in at Charlotte is a non-RNAV arrival. Yeah, so if you know, that's one thing it's important to understand. When you're flying with just the VORs, flying this sort of old way, you can scan the arrivals and you can look for the ones that don't have or aren't labeled as RNAV arrivals. If you're looking at the actual charts instead of the procedures, it should lay out, let's see, star. Yeah, see how this one does not say RNAV arrival? So you got the Betsy 2, you've got the Lynn, you've got the Magic 4, and the Raslin 3 that are not RNAV arrivals. So, let me hide this real quick. What we could do is we could come down here and join the Betsy arrival. We could fly directly to Glade Spring and join it from out there if we wanted to, or we could join the Betsy here off of Barrett's Mountain. It's our choice. But the Betsy, you know, the segment on the arrival is so short here. It's just the 35 miles, and you'd expect radar vectors prior to the Charlotte VOR, just like it says here. And since we are going to be using the 1.8s today, and I'm planning on 1.8 left, is I'm going to go from Barrett's Mountain, and then I plan Victor 259 here. Let me get rid of this chart now. Victor 259 to Moped, because the
boarding is complete.
Thank you. Because the ILS comes off the airport like this, and off of Victor 259 we can get, we'll make the turn onto the localizer. So that's our route today. So we're going to want the Charleston VOR 117.4. So over here, our nav radius down 117.4. And then the next VOR we need is the Barrett's Mountain. $113.75. So we got our two nav radios tuned in. And by the way, Navigraph, do you think you could make it so that as you zoom in, the frequency information zooms in as well? What I have to do is I have to zoom in and I have to quick and read it before it catches up. So how about the text not auto shrink? Make it like a real chart where you're zooming in the chart. Anyway, if anybody from Navigraph hears that, that'd be a wonderful, wonderful change. Anyway, and I believe the winds today. I'm gonna try not to use this very much. It's again, this seems a little too techy for this airport. Yeah, we got calm winds. So what we'll plan on doing is we'll take off runway 23. And if you did take off 23 in real world, I doubt it they would require that you go to the Charleston VOR and then join the airway. They would probably just vector you onto the airway. So we'll fly runway heading. And as you can see, right, here's the runway orientation. The runway will allow us to intercept the course, the airway, and that's at 173 degrees. Again, I'd love it if that stayed, so I could zoom in on the text. 173. So that's what we'll do. So we've got the frequencies tuned in. We can also set our course here to 173. And in this airplane, you select which nav radio and which course selection appears on the HSI with this button. And then if you're in approach mode, you can go to the middle, and that way you can display independent information. Oh, I had that wrong. I thought approach would allow independent. Approach. Let's put everybody on the same. Well, we'll play with that. All right. Nav 1, 173. We can back it up here. Actually, you know what a good practice is? Here. Let me bring that chart up again. It's a little easier to see than the one on the clipboard. So 173, but as we get down to Barrett's Mountain, 356, so 176, so it changes slightly, and that's due to magnetic variation and a little bit of the curvature of the Earth and other things, but it's 176, so we can set the right one, 176, in anticipation of switching over to Barrett's Mountain. At some point about halfway, there was no specific changeover point, so about halfway we'll do it, and we'll be ready to go. So the glare shield, nav sets are set up, fire control cards are closed and in, fuel shut-off valve indicators say open, that's right here, open. And the jib quiz, oh I didn't check the jib quiz.
Glide slope. Pull up.
Such a warning and caution systems tested, nose wheel steering switch is on, alt brake, wheel brake handles are forward, floor and sidewall ventilation is set, all indicators are checked, static pressure selectors are normal, compass up for DG switch, guards are closed, electric pump switches, guards are closed, skid control has been checked, all indicators checked, hydraulic supply checked, fuel pressure lights are on, the filter isolet's been checked. Fuel filter, let's see, engine fire warnings, it's been tested, TVI's tested, central caution light switch is set to bright, fuel quantities checked. Since the refuel should be a little over 6,000 pounds aside, which we are. Lift dumpers are checked, TTC switches are in takeoff. Takeoff. That's our temp control, so that keeps us at takeoff power at 100%. Speed brakes checked, up. Speed brakes are down, flaps are up. Crossfeed selectors, crossfeed switches up. Booster pumps have been checked. Light switches are set. Nav lights on. Common avionics are checked. Autopilot's checked. Hydraulic flight control panel is checked. Flight control is on. Landing gear handle is up. That's over here, the alternate landing gear. This is a Gotchya in this airplane. It is very easy to forget about the flight controls. And the way you know it's on is if you have your controls bound properly and you move the switches, or move the controls, the control column will not work. The rudder pedals will not move. If I remove the gust lock, now everything moves the way it should. So it's doubly important doubly important in this airplane to do your control check preferably with the yokes visible, so that you're not surprised on takeoff. Ask me how I know. All right. We have gotten through the cockpit check. We'll do the pre-departure check. Circuit breakers are in. Oxygen we didn't check, but that's okay. APU air is on. Windshield heating is in low. Seatbelt sign. Oh, now we get the seatbelt sign on. Close the door. See there. Bam. Dash seatbelt sign is on, no smoking sign is on, central warning caution system has been tested, skid controls tested, engine fire warnings tested, fuel consumed indicators are checked and reset. Nope. 66, almost 67,000 pounds. Notice the takeoff placard, landing placard, landing speed placard, indicator for new flaps 11 takeoff. So if we click on the 11 column, it sets everything up. And it also sets our TTC limit. And we are good to go. Nav switch is on, flight recorders is set. Well, I didn't set it, but we're good. And nose wheel steering switch is on. All right, we are boarded. We've got our final load sheet. I think we're ready to go. Let's do our before start checklist. Rudder pedals are adjusted and seatbelts adjusted and secured. Electric power bleeds, air supply. We got good power coming from the APU. Gen 3 looks good. And good DC power running through the buses. And bleed air. Got about 45 pounds or so. We do. So we are good to go there. Brake pressure is checked. Parking brake is on. Fuel quantity we checked. Pressurization set. Thrust index is set. Nav aids are set. Shift papers are on board. Aircraft weight is checked. Takeoff data. We've got our bug set. For flaps 11 takeoff, we're at 130, 135. So V1 and VR is 130, which is bugged right here. 135 is V2. We'll climb out of V2 plus 10, so 135, 145 or so. 147 is our flaps up speed, and then 157 is our single engine climb speed. Ground chocks are removed. Yep. There we go. So, yeah, the GSX integration. Let's just make it happy. Does not seem to be doing anything with the fuel, just the passengers. But, whatever. That's cool. Not sure if that's a GSX. I mean, my money's on that's a GSX weird bug, but we don't have time to mess with it now. We got to get out of here. And then windows and doors closed. Lights are out. Give it one more check. We're good to go. Okay. We're going to pull right out of this spot. We're not going to worry about doing a pushback from this gate. So, let's turn our anti-collision lights. Throttle levers are on idle. HP fuel valves are closed. It's these right here. They are closed. Booster pump switches come on, and then the starter master switch comes on. So aft and forward boost pumps come on. I swear I can hear them come on. That's pretty cool. Starter master switch. The clock is set, and let's get going. Starter master switch is here. We turn it on, and then here's our starter switch. Start number 2 on this airplane first, so we'll hold it till we get the starter valve open. You hear the air cut off, so the starter valve is open, and now we watch the HP HP is like N2. When it's between 15 and 20, we can move the fuel valve to the start position. Here's 15, here's 20. Move it to start. Look for fuel flow. Look for light off. That's the ignition light. Looks like we've got light off now. And we're watching the temp. TGT for a hot start. Watching the HP for the Hun start. At 45, the starter valve should close. There it goes. You can hear the air come back on, the electrical transfer. And at 50%, we can move the fuel valve fully open, which takes away a little bit of the fuel flow, the extra fuel flow that is needed for start. All right, it's a good start on 2. Let's start number 1. Starter valves open. Watching the HP. There's 10. 15. Start. There's ignition. There's fuel flow. There's light off. Where the sound settings are coming from. 50%. Alright, 2 good starts. After start, we got no caution lights. HP fuel valve levers are open. Fuel pressure lights are out. Igniter lights are out. Starter valve light is out. The master switch can come off. Generator lights are out. The APU gen can come off. Air can come off. The other pack can come on. And when I turn the APU air off, we got about a 5 PSI drop. That's fine. Gen 3 switches off. Gen 3 switches on. Air conditioning, main switch both on. ACDCs, SLM check, engine anti-icing, engine anti-icing. So let's run through our DC buses. Good. AC. Look good. Our engine. Auto is low, windshield heat is low, and now pitot and main heating is on. Engine anti-ice, windshield, pitot heating, hydraulic supply is good, electric pump switches are off, guard closed, flight control lights are out, flaps we can set, and taxi lights extend. So we can extend the taxi light, but not turn it on. And so it falls to the left. And I think with that, set our trim before we go. Just click on the CG 24/6 in the 4000, which is the model we're in. Should be around 4. Looks like it's around 5. I'll take it. Collector indicator is out. set, crew briefing, door warnings, tested, and out. Doors are good. Just gonna check our flight sheets and taxi out, and we are good to go. Taxi light on. Alrighty. Well, finally, let's get the heck out of here. Here we go.
Cabin is secured.
Thank you. Alright, I am running through these checklists a little slower than probably normal, just again, because it's been a while since I've flown this airplane and I've only have a couple of flights, sorry about that, under my belt. And you know, the Just Flight team modeled this airplane so well that yeah, you gotta run through the checklist. You forget something, you'll pay for it. But that's part of the fun of this airplane. It really is special. I don't, you know, we talk about some of the big developers all the time, and the same couple of names always come up, and they do a fantastic job. But I hope you all consider Just Flight, because I include it in my big three of the sort of the top fidelity-wise, right? Well, no desktop sim is truly study level. I do think that Just Flight and then the other two big names, which I'm sure you guess what I'm talking about, are doing a great job. By the way, just as a disclaimer, they did provide me with this advanced copy of the update, but I own the product. I bought the product, so when I'm giving you an opinion here, it is truly my opinion. They just do a marvelous job, and this release should be coming out a little less than a week from when I publish this video, so coming soon. Alright, as I was doing those turns, I noticed the ball moving appropriately. The compass matches up with the HSI gyro compass, the directional gyro. Mag compass up here. Right. A little less than 60 degrees. A little less than 60 degrees. We're going to fly runway heading, so let's go ahead and slew our heading bug around. 230 since it is runway 23. This approach end at 23 is one of the most stunning views. This airport sits right at the edge of this bluff. I mean, look at this. Leaves are changing. It is fall. Folks, if you're not flying out of this airport, you need to find a reason to. It is just stunning. This area of the country is beautiful. Oops, the sun just came out from behind the cloud. Lift the plane up. How about the lighting in 24? It really is good. The sim's really coming into its own. I am not running a beta version. I did early on, not this 4, beta 4, but earlier, and I was not real happy about it. So I was just flying the release version. Alright, before we pull out in the runway real quick, let me just give you a look at the airport. Set the brake. But look at this. The approach lights are on this gantry system. And it's kind of interesting because when you approach this runway, you hit your 200 foot on the radar altimeter, radio altimeter, like over by, but you know, before the end of the approach lights over here. But then the Earth drops away from you and you hit 200 feet a second time. So you just have to be very aware of that, right? I mean, look at this. It's also not unusual even when you're on glide path in the sim, and it may be like this in real life, where you can get a jip whiz. Yeah, so now we're on glide path. So this is what it looks like on final. But tell me this isn't one of the most beautiful approaches ever. I mean, just amazing. Anyway, yeah, you gotta find an excuse to fly to Charleston. Okay, lineup checklist. I'm gonna get this out of the way. Brake temps are good. Let's ding them and back. Let them know we're about to get out of here.
Cabin crew, please take your seats for takeoff.
APU, we will leave. We will leave on. We're about. Well, I guess we can turn it off. Off with the test. There it goes. If the flight's less than 30 minutes, the book says leave it on, but we're a little over 30 minutes for this flight, so we'll shut it off. Lift dumpers, Fokker's version of the spoiler, are armed. Flight controls, yeah, here's the gotcha, right? Because if you just do one of these and you move your, nothing's happening. Especially if you're used to disabling the yoke. Now you have no way of knowing. So, reach down here, remove the gust lock. Now, flight surface. Okay. Hydraulic pressures are checked. Yaw damping is in. And we got lights, camera, action. So let's go. Lights. Got no stopwatch, so we'll just note our takeoff time of 11:55 Zulu. So these throttles have a notch, and you have to listen for the click, and that's when you've hit the notch. And if the notch does not give you 100% power, then you can advance past the notch a little bit to achieve 100% power, but you generally set power in this airplane with the brakes set. I mean, look at that. That is just so cool. Alright, I'm distracted. I'm like oh, look, something shiny. Let's move it down, the iPad down. A little better vision. Go. Listen for the click that's in the notch. Now you steer with the nose wheel until 80 knots.
Power set.
Power set. At 80 knots, the rudder becomes effective. Now I'm on the rudder. Yoke and rudder.
Rotate.
10 degrees.
Positive climb.
Zero.
0.
Holding my 10 degrees, holding my heading.
Flaps up.
V2 plus 10, or a maximum of 15 degrees. We got a little fast, but we're okay. Bring the flaps up. Oh, it's bumpy.
Set climb power.
So now we can come down to the TTCs. Set them to climb, and then come back to the notch. Lower the nose to that 10 degrees. Let the airplane accelerate. Bring the flight director up to the 10 degrees. Could have done that before takeoff too. And heading mode. There we go. It's a little low. Let the plane accelerate. We go to pitch. Autopilot on.
Cabin crew has been released to begin that service, but please note that the seatbelt sign is still on.
Okay, autopilot's on. We're in roll mode. Let's get into heading mode. And we'll pitch. Pick up speed, still maintaining our rate of climb. By the way, I bound a button on my joystick, or on my yoke, to the pitch down, which is really important to do in this airplane, because this airplane does not have, obviously, VNAV, nor does it have an actual vertical speed. So you use that pitch to set your vertical speed. And I'm a little slow getting to my climb speed because I'm going to have to accelerate, but we can hold a 250 knot climb all the way up to, since we're only going to 17,000 feet. And it's not a very long flight. There's 250. I can now go to IS mode. Now the plane will pitch to maintain 250 knots. Coming up on 10,000 feet. There it is. Bring our landing lights out. And our flare out lights will track. You can also let the crew know if they want to come out the cabin, they can. Also turn the no smoking sign off since this is 1972. And I flew through my course. Anyway. I'm not too far off it. We established an intercept here at about 150. You get busy in this airplane. You get busy real quick. And we'll set our flight director pitch edge. Looks like it wants to be at about 5 degrees or so. Or about 6 degrees. So we'll set our pitch reference here to 6. That seems to be about it. So we're still heading mode. In a second, we'll go to VOR look mode. Once we see the meal start in. There's the needle. So we'll go to beam. There, look. It is really bumpy today. Holy Toledo. Back in pitch mode, and I'm pitching down for I'd like 1,000 feet a minute or less for this last little bit. Down to 500 feet a minute as we get closer. We'll also let the speed come up. Height and altitude hold. So now we should hold 17,000 feet. We'll monitor the systems just in case. And yeah, we're bouncing around. So I'll tell you what, we're going to slow our cruise speed down. Let's go 300 knots. We'll leave it where we want it to. Somewhere around 90-ish percent. Let's see. Notice how both our flight director and our autopilot are matched up. So the flight director is commanding core low. And our autopilot is in a core low mode, or beam. We can also spin our bug up to 300 knots. Alright, check our speed here in just a second. Airtake of landing gears up, flaps are up, lift jumpers are in. Our engine instruments are good. That's a little late for a climb, but we gotta go through it. Gen 3 switch is off. APU is off. Landing flare-out switches, lights are off. Engine anti-icing, pressurization, seatbelt signs we're gonna leave on. No smoking, switches off. Altimeters we're gonna leave where we got them. Pressurization is good. No rate of climb. Actually brought the cabin down a little bit, and we're going to the seatbelt signs on right now. So it's bounce around. Pretty good. Pretty good. All right, let's start thinking about our descent. On the approach, let's do approach, 18 left. So we want to be at Cavie by 6,000 feet. Now, if we were doing the arrival, the Betsy arrival, which would have been the one we would do, right? We want to be at kind of Barrett's Mountain. We want to be at Betsy at 11, so probably Barrett's Mountain at 11-ish. So we got to get from 17 to 11, 6,000 feet. Times 3 is 18, plus a little bit. So 25 miles out from Barrett's Mountain, we want to start down and descend to 11,000. And then after Barrett's, we want to descend to 6. Because what we're going to do is we're going to turn here this direction, or here this direction, which will then bring us across the localizer. We're pretty close to it. So we can switch to nav 2 if we want, because we got a good signal on it. Yeah. So we got good DME. So what we do is we go to heading mode first. Actually, we got about 20 miles. Let's hold off. Let's go back to Deboard. Let's do the switch over point about halfway. 50, 70, 90, 80, 70, yeah. So when these are about equal, we can switch. We'll do that. That's easier. We have a couple minutes here at cruise. So the 2.2 upgrade. We've got the cabin branding, which we talked about. I talked about the new interiors. I'm pretty sure I did, but yeah, now the interiors have been updated to match the liveries, so they should be pretty realistic. We did the walk around. We got the new EFB, which is a more detailed model. It's more like an iPad. Got the window mount, and by the way, this new FB with the new functionality with GSX also will be in the next updates for the RJ and the 146, and also, of course, in the upcoming releases. We got the flight plan import. And what else? Full change log. It's upgraded to the 2024 native package. Additional model LOD for improved performance, custom cabin textures, the pre-flight walk-around edition, the new modern EFB tablet, SimBrief functionality. Just checking my DME mileage. EFB charts, maps, Oh, I guess there was some flickering before the MS 2024 version. Improved cabin callout triggers, so that cabin is secured callout happened it says they improved it, so now it's 5 to 8 minutes after the doors are closed. And then the takeoff, no, that's the same. They had to change some of the internal workings to regarding file structure for the nav data and so forth. It says the audio selector panel logic's been reworked for greater realism. Door 1 left logic and animation improvements, so the door up-down buttons are now functional. Door can be pushed out for manual extension. Cockpit seat positions are in a better position. Oh, we've got the auto cabin music option on the FB, so you can turn that off if you don't like it. ASI bug logic improved. You can now drag the bugs. Payload initialization issues have been fixed. The GSX GPU can now supply the GPU, which we saw. So that's nice. And there were some other just changes made to improvement, like you can't walk through the aircraft. I'm sorry. The compass dot cross enunciator was fixed. There was some window seal flickering that's been fixed. There's galley hot water handle animation that was added for your coffee machine. So it's pretty decent sized upgrade. But the big one, of course, is being now a native version. Time to do our switch over. So we go to heading mode. We can switch to nav 2, which is 1375. And 176, you can see how we're basically on it. We can go back to beam. I'll make a small correction just to center it up. And now we can set up nav 1 for the turn, 1375. And our new course outbound from Barrett's Mountain be 143. So we'll set that. And then we'll give ourselves vectors on the ILS approach. A little different. We're on nav 2. Let's set this up to 176. We'll go back to nav 1 for now. And the reason is because I want this set up for the course leading to ILS intercept, so that we'll switch as we're crossing Barrett's Mountain VOI. We'll switch as we're crossing Barrett's Mountain VOI. We'll follow number 2 on the 143, and then I can put the ILS in nav 1. ILS frequency, because we'll need, right, 110.35 and the 183 course inbound on number 1. We can. Well, we'll probably have to put ourselves on a vector, because as you know, the radio nav ranges in Microsoft are very realistic. Probably pretty close. We continue to get bounced around. but we're doing good. 60 miles. I slowed up a little bit because of the bumps. We're 10 minutes, 330 knots, setting any records. It's 91%. And I have yet to explore a lot of these features. There's a lot of new options. Right. Cabin announcements, cabin ambient. Here's the auto cabin music. Alt pre-select control, that's the newer sort of, it gives you more precise vertical speed and so forth. I don't have RNAV on. I don't have TCAS on right now. I've got the old one. Maybe. Right, so here's the newer style TCAS. So a lot I haven't explored yet, but such a cool airplane. It really is. And it's tough to talk and fly it because you got a lot going on. And like I missed the course inbound. Not the first time or the last time that'll happen. But you're so busy, especially single pilot. You're busy enough in a modern airliner. Even more busy here. I'm sure that's why a lot of streamers don't like to stream this airplane, especially live, because it's just there's so much happening. So again, we want to cross Paris Mountain at 11,000. So go to 6,000 feet times 3 is 18, so 25 or so miles out. So we'll start down here. Less than 5 minutes. So So when flying without RNAV and so forth, ideally you need to get yourself to an initial approach fix. And this approach, notice how the initial approach fix is not something that I can fly directly to. It's an intersection. It's a point in space. It's not a radio map. Notice also it says radar required for procedure entry. I suspect it's because of that, right? If there was an initial approach fix, for example, was the Charlotte VOR, then the radar would not be required for procedure entry. The way this was designed, the IAF, is a point in space. So that's why we're going to have to sort of vector ourselves. Doesn't mean you can't file it, right? Doesn't mean you can't fly it, but the radar's required. And that's what that means. Because you can't fly it yourself. You need to be vectored to it. Now, if you have an RNAV system, of course, you can fly direct to that point in space. But we ain't got it. All right, let's set our altimeter. 11,000. start down. So I can go direct to pitch mode by clicking down on the pitch wheel, and we'll start 1,000 foot a minute descent. And then we'll just power to hold our speed. Start there. Not gonna do too much, although I don't mind slowing down because it was kind of bumpy. 250 knots is the turbulent air penetration speed. There's the gear horn, so what we can do is silence it. Oh, there's a stutter. What's going on with the stutters this morning? Speed brake available to us. It's on the tail cone. The aerodynamic loads are such that you won't see, it's very effective, but you don't get full deflection of the speed brake until you're below 190 knots. But anyway, it's pretty good speed brake. Very effective. All right, we'll hold 250 knots. Bring our speed brake down. Match it up. We are fast slow indicator. That's what we want to know. The land flaps full. Notice how this updates under the load. Rounds it up. 64,000 pounds of fuel. We have consumed 2,500 pounds. Pressurization, the field elevation at Charlotte is 748, so we need to put a cabin altitude of 748. 748, and then the altimeter setting. Or 8, which is 10:15. So 10:15. 10:15. That's exactly. It's hard to see. Between 10:10 and 10:10. Okay. When we get close to Barrett here, we're a little more than a mile up, so our DME won't get to 0. We'll get to 1 point something. Actually, it'll disappear when we go to the zone, the cone of confusion. We want to turn outbound to 143. So let's go ahead and put in the heading mode. How's it go? Begin our pitch up. 1,000 feet a minute. Bring the car up a little bit. Hold our speed. I went right past the. It's gone above the micro switch, and then. back low. Clouds, I don't think we need. Oh yeah, we're below 10 degrees. We'll see if we get the ice light. They're on auto. Okay, leveling. Got a little slow there. 2 miles. We're in heading mode. Let's get our time. 143. Let's switch to nav 2. Let's stop a little short. Coming in. There's the 2 front indicator switch. Also, by avoiding the flying right up the VOR, we avoid the zone of confusion. With this heading, and we'll start a descent to 6,000 feet. Here comes the needle. So as the needle gets closer, we'll go back to beam mode. And let's start our descent. This one's 230 knots or so. Let's bring our butt back a little bit. Established on this Victor, what is it, 233 or whatever. If we get to Moped, which is like 25 miles, we've gone too far. So now we can switch to the ILS, number 1. And that was 110.35, 183. So 110.35. 183. So now we got nav 2 here, and we want pick up the DME. Actually, what we can do too is we can put nav 1 up here. Maybe we can hear identifier. I never know how well that works. Alright, we're through 10. Way to 6. We are fast. Right at 10. Let's go ahead and get the engine anti-sound. I'm going to put us on a vector. So we're getting close here. So let's go to heading mode. start heading south. 170, let's switch to map one. Approach. Oh, yep, there it is. There's the localizer. Awesome. So I'm going to go back to the low. Go to beam. Don't have a glide slope yet. Looking speed break out. Gonna start getting a slow to 200 knots.
Course bar active.
Gonna go. Cabby is at the 18 DME mark. Glide slope. Perfect. Height. Hold. 200 knots. Let's go to glide. Glide slope. It's armed. Let's go to 260. Or 160. Actually, let's put it on that. We can put it on the first lap. And that resets all our bugs. Keep slowing up. We should get glide slope capture here in a second. There it is. And there's the pitch down. 160, good fight. 6.
Cabin crew, please take your seats for land.
Plus 11.
Cabin is secured.
Thank you. 121 is our ref. So yeah, so it's got a little bit extra bug there, so that works for me. Feet is our let's spin it up. 2,400 feet is our final approach fix. Just trying to hold about 150 knots here. So we know what's holding the course. A little bit of a crosswind from the right. So far the autopilot's doing a nice job of flying the ILS. Make sure sure I didn't miss something here. Pressurization's been set. TTC. Oh, we can put the TTC switches back to takeoff in case we need to go around. Landing dash checked and set. Crew briefing's done. Seatbelt signs on. Landing lights are on. Altimeters are set. Windshield heating switches are in low. Anti-icing is on. APU is on. Gen 3 switch needs to come on, and then your warning switch we don't need. APU's still coming on. Going fast here. There's the APU. So now we turn the Gen 2 switch on. Alright, runway's in sight.
$2,500.
Let's slow it up a little bit here.
Gear down.
Speed checks.
Speed. Speed.
It's outside on that view for one.
Speed.
I'm coming. There we go.
Speed.
That's 18. Here's our final approach fix. It's full. Lift dumpers armed. Final, no smoking switch ons, landing gears down, 5 greens, skid control we checked before, brake pressures are good, lift dumpers armed, flaps are set, cabin attendants, landing station. Alright, let's see if we can do this without scaring the hell out of everybody. A little slower, or a little faster. Got some crosswind from the right.
$1,000.
1,000 feet. Stable. Sync 700. It's getting bumpy again. My airplane.
$500.
It is bumpy.
Right slow. 100. 100 feet to minimum. Minimums.
Continue.
Minimums. 50, 40, 30,
A little fast.
20,
Get it
10,
Span. Bounce. Alright. I'm recurrent. Well, that's about as ugly as it gets. Alright. My second landing in the F28 in a really long time. Yeehaw. Oh, now I can hear the identifier. That's not much help to me. Let's not replay that. All right. Go ahead and turn the flight director off. Lights. Too bad you can't hear that nav radio better in the air. Alright, what's the after landing checklist? APU is on. Oh, we can get the turn off one pad. Turn on the APU air. Speed brakes are in. Lift dumpers are. Now lift dumpers are in. Trim and stabilizer we'll get here. Airflow anti-icing switches are off. Turn off that. Shield. Ignition switches are still normal. Pitot and heat vane heating switches are off. Windshield's off. Radar transponder didn't use the goddamn switch. Turn off. Flight control lock. Back. On. Engine fire warning. Interesting. Strobe lights are off. Taxi lights are on. Landing and flare lights are off. E, 2 bounces. Alright. Like I said, I am now recurrent. Good for another 90 days. Look at that. One flight, 90-day recurrency done. That's what I call efficiency. I gotta play with the yoke a little bit. The yoke is really stiff with this preset, and as you can see, easy to over control, especially when you're having to move the yoke around a lot because it was kind of a bumpy approach. Yep, gummed it up, but it's all good. So that was fun. Great, just a great little airplane. I can't wait to fly it some more. In fact, I'll probably do a flight right after taping this. Or better yet, load up FSI panel and just do a series of landings. Usually what I do with airplanes I haven't flown in a while, or brand new airplanes, is I use FSI panel, and you can set it up like a real, like a real life sim, a level B sim, where you can snapshot yourself on final, and then just go back to that position over and over again. It is pretty slick. Where am I going? Where am I parking, by the way? Let's pick something easy. How about... I'll just pull into a spot. I'm not going to worry about it. 523 is not a runway anymore, Charlie. Latest completed flight. Echo 15. Yeah. I guess it's a CRJ or something like that. Yep, so make the left, next left. Echo 15 over there. I wonder if those gates even work in GSX. They're really, those are kind of really low model gates. Gate system. Fancy parking system. Only the best for the Fokker. On. I got air going.
Cabin crew, doors to manual and cross check.
I did not park a bit askew. What's G6 gonna do with the Deboard with these weird low super low wheels? Alright, after parking brake's bed, the HP fuel valves are shut. Fasten seatbelt switch is off. Air conditioning main switch 1 is off. I think I already did that. Yep. Engine anti-icing switch is off. Chill heat switch is off. Booster pump switches are off. Taxi lights off. Anti-collision lights. Oh yeah. Nav light switch is on. Tech left complete. And so there we have it. There we go, folks. The lovely and amazing Piedmont liveried Fokker F28 Just Flight version 2.2, native to 2024 now. So my apologies for the wonderful landing, but it was still fun. Such a cool airplane, and if you haven't tried it, I highly recommend it. If you haven't and haven't flown in a while, don't forget about it. I know I have. And it's too bad, so I'm gonna do some more flights, and hope to see you up there in the virtual sky. So this is CJ. I'm your Classic Jet Sim pilot. Keep the shiny side up. We'll see you next time.